Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly massive paradigm shift in technology. We are breaking down what is absolutely the most significant update to how software is built in the year 2026. We're talking about Google Stitch, and more specifically, the era of instant interfaces. Look, if you've ever had this amazing app idea but just didn't have the coding chops to pull it off, or hey, maybe you're a developer who is just completely burned out by the endless friction of design handoffs, you're in the right place. This explainer is exactly what you need to see.
I want you to picture a pretty jarring reality for a second. Imagine getting a sudden burst of inspiration. You type out this highly complex app idea in literally just one sentence, and then you just sit back. You sit back and watch Google build that entire interface live, right in front of you. No opening Figma, no hiring a freelance designer, no agonizing weeks-long revision cycles with a front-end developer just trying to get the button padding right. You put your idea in, and a full production-ready interface comes out. I know, it sounds totally like science fiction, right? But that is exactly what's happening right now. We're fundamentally moving away from this world of manual, pixel-by-pixel execution to a world where software just kind of builds itself.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the next 8 minutes. First up, the era of instant interfaces. Then, the magic of vibe design. After that, we'll look at real-world creation workflows, followed by an honest look at the current limitations, the catch. And finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with the future of software. Starting off with Section 1, the era of instant interfaces and the end of literal execution. So the traditional back and forth, a designer mapping out wireframes and a developer painstakingly translating those frames into code, that is completely fundamentally changing. The old bottleneck is just disappearing. But to really get this, we need to define what we're actually looking at. What exactly is Google Stitch? Well, at its core, Stitch is an AI native design canvas. If you want to wrap your head around how it works, think of it as this seamless intersection of Figma, Midjourney, and a senior front-end developer all rolled into one centralized platform. And it's driven entirely by your prompts and your voice. You feed it an idea using plain text, a voice command, maybe a reference image, or even a quick snippet of code, and it immediately generates high-fidelity UI designs, interactive prototypes, and the actual functional front-end code underneath it, all in real time. And just to be super clear here, we are not talking about some rough, sketchy mock-ups. We are talking about polished, production-ready interfaces that you can literally deploy.
Moving on to Section 2, the magic of vibe design, understanding intent over instruction. This right here is the crucial 2026 update that elevates AI from just being a digital paintbrush to acting as your strategic design partner. And this brilliantly illustrates the profound shift between literal commands and genuine understanding. The old way of prompting a UI tool was super literal, right? You'd say, make a dashboard with 3 cards, and the AI would execute that exact command. It was mechanical, it was rigid. But vibe design, it's a totally different ballgame. Now, you prompt the system by saying something like, build a premium productivity app for busy entrepreneurs. Stitch doesn't just mechanically spit out 3 basic cards. It actually understands your intent. It knows the audience you're targeting. It automatically infers the aesthetic, the subtle visual language, the right information hierarchy. It's actually thinking deeply about what the app should feel like, not just what it should superficially look like. It is an absolutely incredible shift. Now, to power this crazy new level of comprehension, Google introduced the 2026 Stitch Agent, and honestly, the capabilities are staggering. You get real-time generation that you can actually interrupt, meaning you can sit there, watch it build the interface element by element, and mid-generation just say, wait, stop, make the navigation cleaner, and it pivots instantly without losing context. You get an infinite canvas for designing sprawling app flows. You get voice-based editing, so your hands never even have to touch a keyboard. It spins up interactive, clickable prototypes without a single line of code. And crucially, direct export to Google Antigravity, which we'll get into in a second, plus real-time multiplayer collaboration so your whole remote team can brainstorm in the canvas together. It's not just a design tool, it's a full-blown design operating system.
All right, Section 3, real-world creation workflows, moving from abstract to concrete utility.
So it's really easy to get completely awestruck by the sheer power of this tech, but let's bring this down to earth. Let's move to and see how this builds the ultimate app stack. This 3-step pipeline is the flagship workflow you really need to understand. Step 1, you use Gemini as your dedicated product strategist. You literally just ask it to generate your comprehensive feature list, user flows, and core use cases. Step 2, you take that perfectly structured list straight into Stitch. You use vibe design to prompt the aesthetic, maybe saying, give me a clean, fast-loading task manager for developers who hate clutter. Stitch processes that, and boom, generates a fully clickable prototype in minutes. Step 3, you export that prototype directly into Google Antigravity. Antigravity takes your new UI and automatically scaffolds the functional backend. We're talking user authentication, data storage, API connections, stuff that used to take agonizing weeks of stressful handoffs between teams. It now takes days. The raw feature list literally becomes a deployable product almost seamlessly.
To really drive this home, think about a super relatable use case, the student project. Imagine you have a major college presentation coming up. You want to build a minimalist, calming flashcard app for studying. But here's the kicker. You have zero design skills and no idea how to write React code. Well, first, you use Gemini to clearly structure your core features, like card creation and maybe a special quiz mode. Then you jump straight into Stitch with a vibe design prompt asking for that specific calming aesthetic. In like 10 minutes, Stitch generates a fully functional, highly polished prototype. Finally, you just pop into AI Studio and generate a simple shareable link. You walk into your class presentation, and instead of clicking through a boring slide deck, everyone has your working prototype loaded directly on their phones. It completely changes the conversation around your idea.
And for all the professionals out there, check out this marketing campaign workflow. Traditionally, creative sprints happen in this agonizingly slow sequence, right? Write the copy, brief the designer, wait around, review it, revise it. It takes forever. Now, these sprints run perfectly in parallel. You use Gemini to develop your messaging strategy, your killer headline, your value prop. Then you feed that directly into Stitch to build out the landing page interface simultaneously. Finally, you just export the pristine front-end code and hand it right off to your web team. The AI is handling the granular execution of the copy and the interface at the exact same time. It empowers your team to step back and focus entirely on high-level strategy and creative direction instead of getting bogged down in the weeds.
Okay, Section 4, Current Limitations. Time to bring it all back down to earth. Now, as absolutely incredible as all of this is, I want to keep things real with you. We have to talk about the human element and where this tech realistically still falls short today. There are definitely crucial constraints. First off, Stitch is still an experimental preview. It has bugs. The real-time agent can sometimes misinterpret what you say, and the visual outputs can occasionally be a bit inconsistent. Second, it is emphatically not a full back-end solution. Even with Antigravity, if you have complex custom business rules or intricate security flows, you still absolutely need a highly skilled human developer. The AI creates a strong scaffold, it doesn't build the finished secure building. Third, the generated code needs refinement. It functions, for sure, but if you're scaling to millions of users, a dev needs to review and refactor it. Think of it as a really, really strong first draft. And finally, standard app patterns are easy for Stitch, but if you want truly novel, never-before-seen interaction designs, that still requires intense human judgment.
Finally, Section 5, the future of software. What happens when the bottleneck disappears? When that bottleneck of manual execution finally vanishes, it forces us to ask some pretty deep questions about the future roles of designers, developers, and product managers. So, the crucial point is looking at how this massive barrier to creating software has dropped over the decades. Back in the 90s, you had to custom hand code absolutely everything from scratch. It took specialized genius. In the 2000s, software frameworks abstracted the most tedious parts away. The 2010s brought us the massive rise of no-code platforms. By 2023, AI copilots arrived, helping developers write complex functions on demand. And now, in 2026, we have end-to-end AI pipelines. Google isn't just making isolated steps a little faster anymore. They are effectively collapsing the entire software development workflow into one continuous pipeline.
Which brings us to the core thesis of this whole explainer. The bottleneck of software creation has officially shifted from manual execution to pure vision. Historically, the person who could build software was the person who spent years and years learning how to code. Today, the requirement to build software isn't knowing the complex syntax of a programming language anymore. It's having the best idea and having the ability to articulate it clearly to an AI agent. The playing field has been completely, entirely leveled. So I want to leave you with this provocative final thought. If the barrier to building software completely disappears, if literally anyone can build anything just by speaking it into existence, what gets built first? Are we going to see this massive, inspiring wave of incredible, hyper-niche new tools that we could have never imagined because they used to be too expensive to develop? Or are we just going to see a massive flood of low-quality, derivative apps completely clogging up the market? It's a fascinating question about human creativity and the tools that empower it.
That wraps up our explainer on Google Stitch and the era of instant interfaces. I really want to hear your thoughts on that final question, so please let us know what you think. Like, share, and subscribe, please. Drop a comment in the comment box.